why should businesses do it? Well, if you want to thrive, if you want to survive, you need to be adopting technology, and you need to be developing what we talk about as digital mindset.
Hello and welcome to the F5 podcast brought to you by InCity. I'm Dom Weatherall, your host. Today I am privileged to be joined by Martin Ward. Martin is the Tech Commissioner for the West Midlands. Not only is he the Tech Commissioner, he is the first Tech Commissioner the West Midlands have appointed. Martin has had a very successful career over 35 years leading business-to-business tech transformation and acceleration. Martin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Dom. It's great to be here.
Thank you very much. Martin, I'd love to hear, and I'm sure all the listeners would as well, to hear more about your story, your journey and your career.
Sure, yeah. I've spent my entire career, which is I think it's 36 years now since I got my first job in the tech sector. And by that, I mean essentially software and services. So I'm a tech graduate. I graduated from Imperial College in London with a technology degree many years ago. I've worked for some of the great and the good in the industry, so SAP, Oracle, Fujitsu, mainly in sales-oriented roles. Mm-hmm. But I've also been a co-founder twice, so I've seen businesses go through the full cycle from startup to scale-up to trade exit. And now I'm obviously Tech Commissioner is my primary role. But I'm also an associate partner in a boutique M&A firm serving the creative industry mainly. And I have a portfolio of companies I'm an angel investor in who keep me fairly busy. And then I do bits of other non-executive and consulting work around that. So life's fairly busy.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your role as the Tech Commissioner of the West Midlands?
Certainly. Well, it's a very interesting role. In fact, you said I'm the first commissioner in the West Midlands. That's true. Also the first and the only one at the moment in the UK, although I hope there will be others appointed. Mm-hmm. So essentially, I've been appointed with a very broad brief, in fact, a blank page brief, which is great for me because it means I can shape the role however I want. So what's my job? I mean, essentially, I'm tasked with growing the tech and digital ecosystem in the region. That means economic activity, it means jobs, it means scale-up successes from the tech sector. So that's ultimately how it's measured. But from my point of view, it's equally important that I'm tasked with taking accountability for getting stuff done. So, we can talk about things until the cows come home. We really need to get things done. And I see that as a key part of the job, taking accountability for actually making things happen. And I guess the other really important bit is convening all the stakeholders. So we have this great tech ecosystem, but it's pretty fragmented. That's the feedback that we get from talking to everyone. And I think my job is very much to be the convener of stakeholders and the advocate for the sector to bring everyone together so that we put in the best foot forwards and we convey the power of what we have here, and we have a lot. So that's essentially what the role's about. Beyond that, it's up to me to shape it, and that's what's exciting about it.
So you mentioned that role didn't exist prior. You're the first to be appointed. What are the, let's expand a little bit on some of the major catalysts that have led to the creation of that role.
Yeah, so the role was agreed between Yanis Maus, who many of the listeners will know, who at the time ran Birmingham Tech, and the Mayor Andy Street. So they decided that as part of developing the digital economy, a commissioner needed to be appointed. And that's where the role came from. In terms of how I got to be appointed, so I spent a lot of my career working in London, which is often the case. People of my generation, you can live in the Midlands, but when I graduated, you couldn't have a tech job easily in the Midlands, so you spend half your life in London. But I reconnected in 2023 when I took an office here, and I went to Tech Week, and I was just blown away by everything that was there. Very, very impressed. So decided to apply for the role very much as part of giving back to the community in the Midlands to achieve something that just wasn't here when I graduated. So I literally applied for it. It was sold to me as 2 days a month honorary role, and I remember standing up at VentureFest in 2023 with Andy Street, looking at the audience when he announced the role, and I thought, you've got no chance. This is a full-time job. I took a decision to go all in, and the rest is history.
Well, thanks, Martin. So what is it that, what is tech bringing to the local area? Why is the West Midlands a tech hub?
In terms of what it's bringing to the area, it's a massive contributor to the economy. So our tech sector's worth well in excess of 15 billion. The data tells us it employs tens of thousands of people just as a tech sector. But in terms of what it brings to the local economy, that's the supply side, so the tech sector. If you look at the consumption, the demand side, tech is everywhere these days. You can't easily define what tech is. It's becoming infused into everything. So it's a critical driver of the economy, particularly as part of the Combined Authorities Plan for Recovery. So post-pandemic, we all know the West Midlands region hasn't recovered its performance that it had pre the pandemic. And so there's a long way to go. And technology will be a huge driver of competitiveness and productivity across all the sectors in the economy. I think West Midlands has always been the home of innovators. It's the home of 1,000 trades. We have lots of very, very smart people here. We have several top-class universities churning out tens of thousands of highly qualified people each year. We have the raw horsepower and the culture to be fantastic in technology, and that's why I think we're a hub. Combine that with the culture of applying things, which is what we do. We're great innovators. We're great at applying things, and technology just cries out to be applied. Mm-hmm. So I think developing a great tech economy is a very natural thing for the Midlands to do, and we've got the raw horsepower to do it with all the talent we have here. So actually, it's of no surprise to me that we have a great tech economy.
So with that in mind, then, how have you seen the tech landscape and the tech scene within the West Midlands grow and change over recent times?
Yeah. Well, I'm old enough to take a generational perspective on this. So I said, I graduated, it was actually 1987 I graduated. And it was very difficult to come back to the Midlands and have a job in what was tech, so the software industry. There are a few companies here, but not many. Your choice was very limited, which is why a lot of people in my generation actually live here, but spend a lot of the time working in London. If I look what the current generation has, it's absolutely transformed. If you then look at our performance across all the sort of public data points, the West Midlands typically is sort of upper quartile. So what that means is, we're not where London is, but we wouldn't expect to be. You've then got elements of the south east with sort of Cambridge, Oxford, and then you've got the Midlands. So, we are a very significant force to be reckoned with in the tech economy, whether that's attracting investment or the quality of our ecosystem or our future prospects. We are absolutely up there. So we've come on a long way. And the best example probably is just look at Birmingham Tech Week. So in 2023, we had something like 8,000 people at Tech Week. It's the biggest tech event outside
of
Tech
program.
Week in London.
In City, been really proud to be a part of it and sponsor it
Absolutely.
over the years as well.
And thank you for that. And long may it continue. But one of the best stats that came out of it, in 2022, the team measured 6 to 10th million media impressions were generated through Tech Week. In 2023, it was 70 million, 10 times the media exposure. So Tech Week has now sort of gone from being a passion project for Yanis, and thank goodness he did what he did. That's made a transformational impact on the ecosystem. It's now going into scale-up mode. So this year, we're going to have lots more people, and there's a big future agenda for where we're taking Tech Week, which I'll talk about in a moment. So in effect, at a generational level, we've moved from nothing to a massive, really powerful tech ecosystem that's just a bit disorganised, and that's where I come in as Tech Commissioner to move it to the next level.
Brilliant. Can you elaborate then on the ambitions of the Tech West Mids and what they're looking to achieve?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's interesting here to go back to the origins of Tech West Mids. So we had Birmingham Tech, which you said, Yanis sort of nurtured, but pretty much it was him and a few supporters around him. We very consciously set up Tech West Mids when I was appointed because we needed a vehicle, a regional development agency for the tech sector, to actually get things done. So Tech West Mids wasn't just a rebrand of Birmingham Tech, it was a very conscious strategy to set up an organisation that was capable of executing on the strategy that we were developing. So I've worked very, very closely, hand in hand with Yanis and his team, to set up Tech West Mids. And effectively, it's been a startup. But what we've put in place is a business that is well funded. It's largely funded by the private sector, so it's the voice of the ecosystem, and it actually has a degree of independence. It's not a public sector body, although it does enjoy the patronage of the combined authority, which is a very powerful stakeholding. But it has the funding, it has the strategy, it has the platform, it has the vision to actually get things done. And that's so important. So it has a very clear operating model. We can now invite sponsorship, we can invite in private sector investment, we can develop programs and projects and strategies within a clear operating framework. We have an advisory board which has members of the House of Lords on it, support from the London growth company, London and Partners. So we've got all the ingredients now to scale. And it's actually fantastic what we're now seeing as of today. Tech West Mids is absolutely starting to go through that process of scaling rapidly, and that's exactly what we need in the region to get things done. So what's the ambition? And this is very much a personal ambition for me. Absolutely, the West Midlands is going to be a globally recognised regional tech superpower by 2030. And some people smile when I sort of say that and say, okay, pat me on the head. Will you ever get there? Well, I don't see us as the next Silicon Valley. I mean, the Chancellor speaks about the UK becoming that. But if you look at the US, I think there are a lot of lessons for us, because in the US, you've got lots of regions that have developed very powerful local tech economies. So I was out in Austin at South by Southwest last week, in fact. There's a very powerful tech economy in Austin. You have Miami, you have Dallas, you have Salt Lake City. And these regional economies have grown up in the presence of Silicon Valley. And it's not a zero-sum game. And I see it being exactly the same in the UK. So we have London. That's the gorilla in the UK tech market. Long may it continue. It should be. And we'll always look to London to be that and to lead the way. But that doesn't mean we can't have powerful regional tech economies. And we are a huge geographic region. We have a lot of economic power. And I'm absolutely certain we can be this globally recognised regional tech superpower. Now, to get there, we've got to be growing certainly the fastest outside of London, no question. We've got to drive digital adoption that's benchmarked. So there's some way to go. So I'd like to see us right behind London in all the rankings, which is no mean feat. But by 2030, I'm absolutely certain we've got the strategy and the momentum to get there. There's a few things that we need to do along the way. The first is we've got to speak with one voice. So we've got to reduce the fragmentation and start to amplify the power of a voice that we have. And we have a project on the go at the moment to develop a narrative for the tech sector, which is very exciting. And that's something we can project on a national and international basis. So that's the first thing. Secondly, and in many ways most importantly, we need to get a fully functioning, self-sustaining tech ecosystem in place. So if you look at the best tech ecosystems in the world, they're a circular economy. When people found and grow and exit businesses, they come back and they support. That then attracts in the investment and attracts in even more talent. And we've got to get that circular, self-reinforcing process going in the Midlands. And we're on our way. For example, I've just set up an exited founders club. We actually have many exited tech founders in the region. No one's ever spoke to them as a group and asked them to come and contribute. And I've had a fantastically positive response to that. So that's going to be one of those parts of the ecosystem. So that's the second thing. Third thing, we absolutely have to diffuse tech competence through to the wider economy. This is about the competitiveness and productivity for the overall plan for growth. We absolutely have to develop a leadership position in AI. We can't avoid this. I don't personally think we're going to be the originators necessarily of brand new AI technology. We may not be the leaders in infrastructure, but we can be leaders in the application of technology. And this is where we're starting to develop our narrative. That's very exciting. And the final thing we need to do is put ourselves on the global map. So culturally, in the West Midlands, we don't shout. Other regions like Manchester shout very loudly. And I hear about Manchester all the while. We don't shout about it, but actually we have a fantastic story and we have to project it. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about achieving, if we can, is to run a tech and digital festival in the region that looks to the future of technology, brings in the fantastic creative and gaming sector we have, the music and media sector that we have, the tech sector, and is a celebration of everything we do, but is outward looking on a national and international basis. And to get there for that, that's why I was recently in Austin at South by Southwest.
I was just going to ask you about that, Martin. So you attended Austin. What was your experience like, and what are the learnings you can draw from that to implement in the West Mids?
Yeah, well, it was a fantastic experience on two levels. First of all, to see the festival that is South by Southwest. It's in fact multiple festivals. It's creative, it's music, it's technology. Hey, everything we've got. But also we went to understand how Austin has become such a tech powerhouse as a regional economy. Actually, the look and feel of it very much reminded me personally of the centre of Birmingham. It's very new. If you look around Centenary Square, you've got lovely buildings, you've got hotels, you've got the conference centre. It sort of felt a little bit like home, and I genuinely mean that. But I came away with an abiding sort of impression, and that was it was impressive, but not remarkable. And what I mean by that is it was hugely impressive. They get 300,000 people. It adds something like $250 million to the local economy just from that week. But it's not remarkable in the sense that it can't be done. So they've been running South by Southwest, I think, since the mid-1980s. It's had a 35-year run, and it's pretty damn good, but actually they've had plenty of time to get it right. We can do this. There's no reason we can't do it. There was only one thing that would be quite difficult. We're working on it, but we've got to get the weather right. So there,
good luck with that.
30 degrees sunshine does add a nice little sort of flavour to things.
Yeah,
and you know,
something to work towards.
We can try, right?
Yeah.
You know,
sign me up. I'm ready for those early bird tickets.
Well, I think both Yanis and I came away absolutely inspired that we can do this. What we need to do is not simply take South by Southwest and bring it here. We need to add our particular flavour. We've got a unique culture, we've got a unique heritage. We need to bottle that and add that flavour in the mix and then take that to the world. And I'm absolutely certain we can do that. And that's one of the key things, the big things that I want to do. So I want to position us on the national and international AI scene. We've got to get that right. I want to run this festival that we codename Future Fest. I want to run that in the region, and that'll be two things that will again help us move to the next level of the ecosystem.
With all of that in mind, why is it such a good time to be a tech business, and where is the support for those businesses, whether they're startup, SME, medium, large enterprise?
Well, I mean, it is a great time to be a tech business. In fact, it has been, certainly for my whole career, it's been an amazing industry and an amazing time to be in that industry. But I think what we're seeing now is, as I touched on earlier, technology is starting to diffuse into every part of the economy. Every industry is being transformed. It's very difficult to define what the tech sector is. It's almost impossible, in fact. That means it creates so much opportunity. You don't have to be a software geek to have a great tech career. So I think it is a great time to be in tech because there's so much choice as to what you can do and what you can be. Also, if you're interested in building something, you can now achieve a huge amount with modest resources. So things that when I graduated would take millions of pounds to achieve can now be done with utilities that are available on the internet. So you don't have to be wealthy necessarily to do something very special in technology. And I think, so that for me, technology can be a great social leveler. So it's potentially accessible to all. And
I
that
appreciate there's a myriad of tools people can use, but any examples? Or do we lead into the world of the buzzword of AI?
Listen, I guess we do.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, ChatGPT is the obvious one, and I would be the last to say that sticking an interface on ChatGPT means you've got an AI strategy. So let's not go down that rat hole. But it's a great example. You can achieve things now that you couldn't dream of a generation ago, and they cost nothing or cost peanuts. But tools for developing applications, for example, low code, no code strategies. Yeah. You can get stuff done with modest resources, and you can make a difference if you spot the opportunity. So that makes it a great time. And I think if you look at the Midlands, West Midlands, we do have everything you need to succeed. So there are a huge amount of support resources available to you. There is investment available for the right businesses. We need to still work on that. There's a long way to go, but investment is available. And there are plenty of skills available for attractive businesses. So it is a super time to be in tech. And this is one of the reasons that I'm doing this job and I've gone all in, because a generation ago, I couldn't dream of having everything that's here now. And I really would like, my son and his generation and ones that follow to have those fantastic opportunities to change the world and achieve something fantastic for them and the community, and make the most of it. So it is a brilliant time. The support resources are there. They are fragmented, and I've talked about this is a key part of my job to defragment them, and that's where Tech West Mids comes in as like a unifying force and a golden thread through the whole tech sector. But one of the first things we've done in Tech West Mids is to set up the concept of something called Tech Connect, which is basically connecting the ecosystem together. So in fact, the whole strategy of Tech West Mids is based around connect, amplify, transform. Connect the ecosystem, amplify the great stuff that's going on, drive transformation. So if you want to get moving, go talk to Tech West Mids. Look on techwestmids.com, go see them in iCentrum, pick up the phone, come to Tech Week, and you can be pointed in the right direction. We've got plenty of accelerators, plenty of people who will help. We're not short of resources. We just need to be a little bit more organised, and that's a journey we are well on our way to achieving.
A lot of people, most people, end users of technology, and a lot of people understand the future of tech and tech being an enabler in our personal life and our work world as well. But why should businesses integrate digital transformation into their strategies?
It's a good question, and I think there's a long way to go on that in terms of that integration. So some have started the journey, many haven't. I think it's because of the benefits fundamentally in terms of productivity, competitiveness, and customer value. So technology can hugely transform productivity and competitiveness. That's been true for the last 30 years since we've had the concept of enterprise type applications. You add in AI, and then all of a sudden, entire industries get transformed. So, as an example, one of the industries that I work in, the M&A industry, Waypoint Partners has been experimenting with the application of AI to its business, and even in the very early days, it has a transformational impact on the way some of the processes work, the speed at which you can do things, the amount of resource you need to apply. So, I guess my simple answer would be, adopting technology is not optional. You can delay it for sure, but the chances are you get further and further behind. And as technology moves on, it goes faster and faster and faster. So it's a journey that really businesses have to embrace. And AI has really brought this to the forefront because it has such a transformative impact. So I would say, why should businesses do it? Well, if you want to thrive, if you want to survive, you need to be adopting technology, and you need to be developing what we talk about as digital mindset. And this is like a whole philosophy that says individuals and organizations are prepared to step out of the comfort zone, to experiment, to try new things, to innovate, to look out for new possibilities, and to find that edge. And my personal conviction is that the winners of the future will be businesses that are able to adapt and can innovate. And leveraging technology is a key part of that. So you need to do it. My challenge is to provide the resources and the ability to do that. And we've started this journey already. So I believe very strongly in a centre of excellence model here. And what I mean is support services that can educate about technology, can show it in context. What does it mean for your industry? What does great look like? But then can actually help you take the first step through proof of concept. And very shortly, fingers crossed, I'll be announcing quite a significant project that will take some steps in this direction. around AI, where we'll be helping some SMEs in the region who are non-tech businesses to start to proactively adopt the technology. So I think this is the sort of action orientation I talked about. I think if we educate businesses, that's only the first step. They've still then got to go find the resources and the time to make something happen. So I'm trying to bridge that gap, get businesses on their journey, and then they hopefully will see the transformative impact, and then they're on their way. So if we can make that work and get a model for that, then we can just scale it. So that's one of the example projects that I'm working on, as to how we make that sort of process happen in the support ecosystem.
That provides a real good insight into the opportunity in the future for tech in the West Midlands.
Absolutely, because because I'm a tech person, and my natural inclination is we start with the supply side, the tech sector. And I've talked about making that a fully functioning, self-sustaining tech ecosystem. That's a big enough job in its own right. Yeah. But the real economic prize, yes, it's partly from having great scale-ups in the tech sector. That's a given. But the real economic prize is when we actually diffuse the tech capability across to the demand side, and we take all the manufacturing SMEs, for example, that we've got around the region, and we turbocharge their businesses by making them productive, making them competitive, helping them improve the customer service they offer by applying digital technology. That's the real economic prize. So ultimately, the success of the role of commissioner will be measured partly on the supply side, but it'll also be measured on the extent to which we can stimulate the demand side economy. So there's a very clear path here. Let's get the supply side sorted, which we are well on our way to doing now. We have a very clear strategy, and let's start to diffuse the capability across to the non-tech sector. And this is what I'm starting to work on as we speak.
Brilliant. Thank you, Martin. Martin, I've got one final question for you. If you could see someone else deliver their story on this podcast, talking about the human side of tech, someone that's inspired you, or you've seen great innovation, someone doing a fantastic job in their current role, who would that be?
Well, you threw this question in at the end, Dom, and I had to think long and hard, because there are so many people I could pick, right? And I think you're interviewing Yanis anyway, because he's someone who absolutely should inspire us all and has done a fantastic job. But I've picked out a person who might find this a bit of a surprise, but I'm going to pick out Mick Westman, who's the CEO of an organisation called Digital Innovators. This is a not-for-profit that is helping young people learn the skills of innovation. So all the things I talked about with digital mindset. And these skills are so important. They're more important in many ways than knowledge, because you can always inject knowledge. It's much harder to inject the right soft skills. But that's a challenge Mick's working on. He's had a lot of success with Digital Innovators. He asked me for a coffee a couple of weeks ago. We sat down, and he wants to do more. So he's put himself out there as wanting to lead this agenda. So my challenge to Mick, sat here right today, is get yourself on this podcast, tell people what you want to do, let's make it happen.
Mick, we're coming for you.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Martin, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really, really interesting to hear about your successful career, and then most recently, everything you're doing as a tech commissioner at the West Midlands. Really, really, really fantastic work. Long may it continue. Thank you very much for joining us
My
today.
pleasure. It's great to have been here. And could I just add a special thank you to Intercity for all the fantastic work you do in the ecosystem, and working, of course, very closely with Tech West Midlands. It is very much appreciated. It's essential. And it's great to see a growing regional technology business. So very much look forward to a productive relationship for the future. Brilliant. Thanks, Dom.
Thanks, Martin.